Joining us today, I am very pleased to welcome Alistair Waddell, President and CEO at Inflection Resources and Chairman at Headwater Gold to the Northern Miner podcast for this week's CEO Spotlight. Alistair, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on here.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. For those that maybe aren't familiar with Inflection Resources, could you give us a little bit of background of the company and how long you guys have been around, what you guys are up to?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Inflection Resources, we're a Canadian and US listed exploration company focused on the discovery of large copper gold deposits in Eastern Australia, specifically in New South Wales. And the company came together in early 2018, and it was an opportunity. It was recognized in northern New South Wales in a belt of rocks called the Macquarie Arc. And this belt of rocks is host to some of Australia's biggest mines, most notably Newcrest Mining's K-Year operation. This is their flagship mine, the flagship mine for Evolution Mining. Cal is in the belt. And we also have the North Parkes deposits as well. These are big copper mines. They're owned by a Chinese group in a joint venture with Sumitomo. And to cut a long story short, this belt of rocks, they're called Macquarie Arc, disappears to the north under a blanket or veneer of transported sedimentary cover. And it was essentially masking the underlying prospective geology. And at the time, back in 2018, this was completely free of claims or exploration licenses. And that was really the opportunity. It was very clear from reviewing an airborne geophysical survey, a magnetic survey that had been flown by the government of New South Wales, that the belt of rocks, the prospective rocks, continued under this sediments. And ultimately, we were able to secure the licenses. And in fact, we are the biggest holders of exploration licenses in New South Wales, covering the entire northern extension of this belt of rocks. So since 2018, we've been systematically exploring the belt, and we've been doing that in a very systematic and disciplined manner, essentially drilling holes through the sedimentary cover, drilling short diamond drill holes into the prospective basement rocks, looking for evidence that we're either onto or in the vicinity of one of these large copper gold porphyry systems.
It's an incredibly exciting area, copper right now, and gold as well, but you see a lot going on the copper front in the M&A area. So a couple of questions here. What is the name of the project and what have you found so far?
So it's not a specific name of a project. We call it the Northern New South Wales project, if you will, but we have multiple target areas within the greater portfolio. So we have over 7,000 square kilometers of exploration licenses extending over about 300 kilometers from north to south. And as I said, we've been sort of systematically plugging away, drilling holes through this cover, looking for these porphyry deposits or the alteration halos around these porphyry deposits. They've got very distinctive characteristics in terms of geochemistry and alteration that we can recognize by looking at the rocks. And we've identified a number of large centers, which we consider very exciting. We have not yet drilled that boom of a hole right into the heart of a nice copper gold system, but we've certainly got a lot of indications we're in the right part of the world. We got all the right alteration, the right geochemistry, and critically, in this part of the world, having the rocks at the right age as well. So we've got these systems identified, and that's really given us a lot of encouragement that the model and the strategy is correct. And really, it's now a case of just systematically drill testing these targets. And there's a lot of them. There's about 30 targets that require further drilling. But we got one in particular called Duck Creek. This is probably the one that's caused, the most interest, and this is the one that we're going to be setting about to drill here in the coming days.
Excellent. Now, as far as I understand, there's a partnership of sorts, or there is interest from another miner. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And is that related to this project?
It is indeed. So we very recently just announced the closing of a deal with Anglo Ashanti. This is obviously a very large major gold mining group. And we've entered into this multi-year agreement across pretty much the entire portfolio of properties in New South Wales, whereby Anglo Gold can earn an initial 65% interest in up to 5 of our individual exploration licenses by spending up to 145 million Australian dollars. So this is a massive deal for a relatively small company like ours. And what this really allows us to do is to really accelerate the exploration program and drill lots and lots of holes. And this is really the key to success, pretty much in any exploration company, drilling lots and lots of holes. And we're drilling holes into these very large, complex features we consider analogous with these large deposits further to the south and the belt. So it's going to be a very exciting period. And now having Anglo Gold as a partner, this is really just going to accelerate the whole program. And it's a very comprehensive agreement. It's sort of a multi-stage deal. Sort of a phase one part of the deal is they spend $10 million across the entire portfolio just to, as part of a first pass sort of program. At the end of that phase one, they can select up to 5 projects and then spend an additional 7 million Australian dollars on each target to get to 51% interest in each target. And then to get to 65%, they have to spend 20 million Australian dollars on each target. So it's a very, substantial agreement. And then the other interesting little aspect to this is to get to a 75% interest in each project, they have to complete a pre-feasibility study. As I'm sure some of your listeners will understand, this is a major undertaking. We're looking for essentially a large porphyry deposit here. So a pre-feasibility study would be a massively expensive and quite onerous sort of project to complete. So it's a big deal, and we're obviously thrilled to be working with Anglo Gold.
I'm sure. I mean, it's kind of every explorer's dream is to start making big deals like that and getting interest from a major. So that is incredibly exciting. So, what is the roadmap then? I guess, like, does Anglo Gold Ashanti take the wheel at this point, or how does it work? Like, where are things going then? What do investors really have to look forward to in the coming weeks, months, and years?
Yeah, great question. So it's a very interesting time in the history of the company. So we're just about to kick off a large scale drill program, which we'll talk about more over the coming weeks and months through our news releases. But the bottom line is, we're going to be drilling about 30,000 meters as part of a phase one drill program. So there's going to be a lot of news flow coming out of that, all across the entire portfolio. It is very much sort of a drill and kill type strategy, if you will. We're testing big geophysical features, so it's going to be there's going to be targets that we drill holes into, and we don't get anything of great interest, but we know we've got some encouragement already. So it's going to be a very exciting period, and I often sort of joke, I mean, every hole is an adventure. It's we're testing something very, very large in a belt of rocks that's known for very big mines that's never been drill tested before. I mean, this is key. The scale of the targets we're testing and the fact they've never been drilled before just makes it very, very exciting. And specifically for an exploration geologist like myself, every hole you just never really know quite what we're going to be hitting. So that's going to be the exciting part of this going forward.
Excellent. So just as we wrap up here, actually, just one very quick question before I ask you a more general question. But has this area ever been drilled before?
So no, this was really the amazing opportunity. The southern part of the belt where the geology outcrops in and around these major mines that have been developed, has been explored extensively. And, if I could plot up a map showing you all the density of the drill holes across the belt, the bottom southern part of the belt would almost be black with drill colors. But the northern extension of this belt, where it goes undercover, has just received very cursory exploration. And that was really kind of a staggering opportunity. And I think people perceived the cover sequence to be, a bit of a challenge, which it certainly is. But that challenge has, in fact, created the opportunity. And we were able to acquire these exploration licenses just through staking. So it's a very simple, clean story. There's no underlying deals. It's just, it's amazing that these have never been drill tested. We're doing this, you know, 2 hours up the highway from Cadia. This is one of Australia's biggest gold mines, and it's just staggering to me that these targets have never been drilled before.
Well, again, it sounds very exciting. So, in our closing seconds here, in just a few lines, what do you want investors to know about your company?
Yeah, I mean, really, the major takeaways are the scale of the targets that we're testing. These are very, very large targets, but that obviously have got the scale to attract the attention of a major mining company. We're doing this in a fabulous mining-friendly jurisdiction, Australia, and specifically New South Wales, which obviously it's a true tier one jurisdiction. The government of New South Wales actively encourages groups like ours to explore and invest in the state. It's a very technically driven story. Didn't really get into this, but the technical guys behind this have been seriously successful at finding big deposits in Australia and elsewhere. 100% ownership. So it's clean, simple story, no underlying complex deals. And we're going to be aggressively drilling. So we've got a long pipeline of news flow coming out of this. So over the next weeks and months, and as I mentioned, every hole is testing something big and new. So it's going to be an exciting ride.
Excellent. And one final, very small question before we wrap up here. Where can people invest in your company?
So we're listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange, the CSC, with the ticker AUCU, and in the United States on the OTCQB with the ticker AUCUF.
Alistair Waddell, President and CEO at Inflection Resources and Chairman at Headwater Gold, thank you for joining us on this week's CEO Spotlight.
Thank you very much.